going to review Daf Nun Af through Daf Nun Ches of Sanhedrin. We start out talking about Bas Kohen's relationship and the fact she gets Sreifa. We go on to talk about the other Misos, Chenek and Sreifa. And we segue a little into the Chayvei Skila, who the Chayvei Skila are, and many drashas, the Machlokes of Yehuda Rabbanon, about the mother, how many Yisurim there are. Then we talk about the Isser of Mishkav Zachar and other types of forbidden relationships and Mishkav Behema, those type of relationships. Then we go to Megadef, and then we go to Halachas of Goyim, Shevis of Shnei Noach, and many blot about the punishments of the Bnei Noach, which punishments they get for which Yisurim. All right. And then that's where we end off today, Nun Ches, talking about, ending off, I think, about the Yisurim of the relationships of a guy. So, not to be confused, at the beginning we're talking about regular relationships and the Yisurim, and then we end off at the end talking about the Goyim's halachas, how the Goyim get killed, which mises apply, and what, you kill the guy for doing what, and then we talk about the guy's relationship. So that's the end. But first we start talking about the Jews' relationships, the Jews' mises.
When do we bring in both of these?
We're going to discuss that. Well, they have their own, but they didn't. I don't know if we're going to our business. I'm not sure. Well, it's Gertoship is different, yeah. They have their own, but they didn't, which are structured a little differently. All right. Oh, not officially. No. They know, right. Okay, so we left off last week with we sort of abandoned Daf Nun Alf, so here's Daf Nun Alf again. There's a really complicated brayso with 7 parts. Basically, all it says is that the Bas Kohen gets Sreifa when she's Narusa in the Suah, which is like Reb Shimon, like you said. Now, throughout this brayso, there's many cryptic words, which the Gemara darshans basically the whole Daf Nun Alf. That maybe if I would have thought she's a puzzle, she marries a puzzle, then she's not a Bas Kohen anymore, which Reb Meir sort of says. And then Reb Eliezer has a cryptic statement of Aviha and Ima, and we have like half a blot of what he means Aviha and Ima. In the Amud Beis, the Gemara says a couple lines about why we're learning this, and it means why we paskin the halacha in this case, because it's not applicable. And the Gemara says just like we learned Zvachim, which is not applicable, Joshua Kabul Schar. And then at the end of the page, we get into Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel has a different shita about the Bas Kohen Arusa, and he holds only a Bas Kohen Arusa special, and the Bas Kohen Nesua is regular. That's Rabbi Shmuel shita, which we'll see at the end of the daf. But again, that's what's going on. So basically, the whole daf is about Bas Kohen Arusa Nesua and the shitas. The charts. Okay, we're going to see Reb Meir shita, and we have Meir shita. If she married a psulin, if Bas Kohen married a psulin, then she's downgraded from being called Bas Kohen. She gets Karen Chomesh and she has Chen if she's Mizan. And here the Chacham don't hold like that. And this brayso, of course, is going to Chacham. So there's we'll see in the Gemara in a minute. But the Gemara is saying, I might have thought we hold like a Meir, who holds once she marries a apostle, she's downgraded. Here is all the shitas, which we'll get into in a second. Rabbanon, Reb Shimon, we know that we've been talking about. Reb Shimon holds, like you were saying earlier, that Sreifa, she gets Sreifa Arus and Nesua. Last week we had a whole long discussion that we know Arus is more chamer. We're not going to get into that again, but Arus is more chamer. So Chamim holds skill is more chamer. Chum, we have this classic skill of Sreifa Hereg Lechanek. So Arus is more chamer. They get the skill. Rabbi Shmuel, like we just mentioned, we'll meet him towards the end. He holds that she gets Sreifa, which is Arusa, but she holds Nesua is not special at all. That we'll see in the Gemara on the base. And then this Rebbe Lazar basically ends up, according to Ravina, like the Rabbanon that skila for Arusa and Sreifa for Nesuah. That's the end of that Gemara. Fine. So let's see the Gemara. So that's really a complicated, almost pretty simplified. Let's make this a little bigger. Now I can go home. There we go. Okay, here's the Bryce. It's on Luna Bays actually. There's a lot of parts. Bas Kohen Kisechel, right? The Gemara says Yochav Bil Chil Shabbos, right? The Gemara says maybe she gets reifa for Chil Shabbos, because it says Kisechel. She's making herself chulun. What does that mean? So Liznos. The pasuk goes on. That says no, it's only the chilulin shebiznos. Fine. Now I might think this applies if she's single and she's with someone, and Teretz says no, it has to be Zika Sabah. She has to be married. I might have thought it's all with her father. The Gemara spent some time on that. They said no, it's with everyone. I might have thought it's only Arusa. No, not everything is Suah. Getting on to the Nauf. And again, like we were just saying in the pictures, even if she marries a Levi, so of Chavan, Kol Mamzer, everything is included. Here's an interesting halacha which I mentioned before just now. Ein Zomeh B'Sreifa, the Zomen, they have a choice. They're trying to kill the man and the woman. So the man gets chenek, so, not Sreifa.
She doesn't.
So the Zomen
Right.
to get like the Baal. That's all. Okay. And then here's a Belazar statement, which the Gemara spends, like I said, like half a block trying to figure out. So via B'Sreifa, Via B'Skila, which would mean when she's with her father, which should be when she's engaged, she gets Sreifa. That's like that's Chamia B'Skila. When she's with her father-in-law, which gets married, she gets Skila, which no one holds. And the Gemara ends up Epoch, meaning when she's engaged, she gets skila, and when she's married, she gets reifa, which is like a chachamim, like the top line on the chart. Fine. And just to see what the Gemara darshans, like we said already, I might think she's a pnuya, I might think she's not with her father, and here we quote her mayor. So basically, the question is, the mayor holds, but second she got married, even if she got married to Yisrael, she sort of was machal herself. So, like we said in the chart, then she plays a Karen plus Chomish, and she's downgraded to Chenek, like this chart number 2, if you have paper. Fine.
So we point out that she's no longer married to that person, or whatever it is, that she still gets back all everything she has lost.
Right. I think there was a tzad. I forget now. We mentioned it, but I forget
Yeah, it
what
was
it's.
mentioned, but
If she leaves the marriage, but she married a puzzle, does she go back? I think according to marriage, she does not go back. I can't promise you that.
okay.
I think so. I don't know. That's my memory. Fine. Now we go through a statement, like we just said, the statement of Rebbe Lazar, as a via b'seifa, as a hamir b'skila. What does that mean, right? If it's our kabbalah, they said the suah has sreifa and not arusa, right? Like the top line of the chart. The suah has sreifa, right? So who would be going with? Please. So then the Gemara ends up on number base, El Amra Avina, La'olum Krabbanan Ve'epuch. That's what we said, that Rabbi Lazar, who's the bottom line on this chart, number 4, is going like the Rabbanan, and you have to turn the statement around. Here's the Gemara saying, Hochsum Shicha, what are we learning this all for? So the Gemara says, how about Kodshim, right? Shchitas Kodshim. The answer is Joshua Kabal Schar, that Darshanet and get Schar Severe also. Here's the sheet of Rabbi Shmuel. Like we said, Rabbi Shmuel is on the chart that holds only Bas Kohen Arusa special, because that's what the pasuk is talking about. According to him, the Suah is regular Chen. And the Zoameh, the Eden Zoman, get, like we said, the Mises Bola, the same as the husband. But so Rabbi Akiva, we had the Gzer Shabbat to include the Suah like Arusa, right? Rabbi Akiva says, not like Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says only Arusa special, the Suah is regular. Right, Kiva says, like we were saying, like I think of Shimon and the Rabbanon, they said Nesu is also special. Ahani Gzer Shalom Muti Pnei, Ahani Bas Bas, the Rabbis is on Nesua. Right, so he has Gzer Shava to include Nesua also, like we were learning for the past 3 blocks. Then Nesua is also special. And Shmuel uses the Gzer Shava for something else to say that I would think by Mum and Yochel Nachal Kulusan. I would think if the Kohen's a Baal Mum, then the kid's out. Meaning the kid has no special halachas. Not even a cholol, just a Baal Mum, but the kid, I would think if the Kohen's right. If the Kohen's a Baal Mum, then the daughter is regular and she doesn't make halachas. So Bas Kohen Kamash Blan, that's not true. Find out from Beis. Let's go to the charts for a second. Okay, so we start off chilul of the father, that the fathers can't get a special aliyah. Then we talk about the procedure of sreifa. A sreifa is a shama of kaim, right? We throw a lead into them. And the source is either b'nei Aaron koach, and if you hold whatever you hold the sources, then you hold the other story that they're fully burnt, right? B'nei Aaron. I think the way we learn Chumash, we learn both of them. The fire went in, like the fire came out by b'nei Aaron from the Kodesh Kodashim, went to nostrils, right? Or Korach also fire burnt them.
And then they was swallowed.
Right, then there was all
So
this.
the question was with regard to that was whether they were like the review, where they were also burnt on the outside as well. And I think by another review, it was they went on this. There's one of the two.
Well, it was one of them each way, right?
Right, because everybody agrees that the 3 foot turned out to be that's an internal only. But
Right.
they
The
were
question is where you
exception.
learn from and what was the story
Right.
by either another view or the Korach. Whatever
Right.
your source is, you hold the other stories that they were really burnt from the outside. Which I mean, fine. We learn in Chumash and we read the Psukim, but they're both burnt from the inside.
They were burnt from the inside, 2 out. But not the
Oh,
clothing.
2 out,
Another
maybe.
review,
Okay.
another review, it says
Right, I guess that would be
that
the
that was the exception. They were burnt from the inside.
I think
But
with
also
Kayim.
the outside, but the clothing.
Oh, okay. That would be the Shita.
Right, that's
But
they
they're
just said,
burnt
like, and it
altogether.
said, she said that's the exception. Otherwise, it is on the inside.
That what? I didn't
Most
know that.
people died
Right.
the same day.
That's not Cherev. Okay.
1,000.
Well, they were burnt from the inside by some Cherev.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That I did not know. I didn't get up there yet. Another one that view, then the Gemara on the bottom of Amarav has a short snippet about another view. We're waiting, and it said, when these old men going to die already, and we'll take over. And the Gemara on the base continues that you shouldn't do that. And the Gemara talks a little bit about how Aretz cannot respect the Talmud Chacham. Then we have a mission about Sayef. It's either a sword and standing or a hatchet on the table. And we learn from Eglah Rufa. And the procedure for chenek. Chenek is skio sreifa herek chenek. So chenek is the lowest level according to the Rabbanan, or next to lowest according to Shimon. And that's this machlokas why we give it, but that's really given for any unspecified prosecution. Execution.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's a small machlokas with that. So so far so good. We're not in the we're not in the
Danger zone yet.
danger zone, right? Soon. Next part. Fine. So, like we said, here's the Gemara. When she acts up, then she's Michal the father, and we say Oruz Yola the Arches Gida. We can talk about it for a long time, but we won't. For some reason, it reflects on the upbringing if you have a kid who's messed up. Fine. And apparently, Karina Rashia Bar Rashia Basfilu Rashia Bar Tzadika. You have a kid who's a Russia, the son of a tzaddik. We can call him Rashia Bar Rashia for the same reason, because I guess something was messed up with their upbringing, because or else how in the world could you have such a bad Russian come out? All right, be that as it may. So there's a small machlokas, his misas on the strafim. So you put the streifa, you put him in zevel until his knees.
And Zevel is not necessarily going to the chief of the church.
Okay, fine.
Anything.
And you put a you don't kill him by choking, but you open his mouth that way, and you throw the lead inside. And Yehuda says a small variation, you don't do that. You just open his mouth with tongues and you throw it in. And here's the two sources: either made as Korach, all the Seifes Shem Gufkayim, or you can learn Bnei Aaron, Seifes Shem Gufkayim, like we said. And there's various psukim either way, benafshosam, by that that's Korach. It says they sinned by their souls. What does it mean they sinned by their souls? So it means only their souls were burnt, which I guess means their insides. That's what the nafshosam means. Or you could say nafshosam means that they started up within the neshamas, and then we said the fire went out from Kodesh Kodashim, and it went 2 fires went out, and it went to 4, and 2 went to each person's nostrils. Fine. That's interesting. What? Fine. And Rav Nachman says we have a little different source. So we saw this numerous times by various misas. The Gemara says if you have a possible, everyone agrees there's a concept of Hafler. So the Gemara says if there was no Gzeir Shava, I would say that this doesn't count as burning. If the guf is kayim, that's not burning. And the would just say burn him faster. Right? In other words, I know there's a concept of but still I wouldn't have thought without these sources of this ingenious way of killing someone fast by sreifa. Fine. Now we have another view. They were staying there saying, Musa Shneas came alone when he's old men in the diary. So we see you shouldn't wait around for people to die. Do something, right? Huh? Well, I don't know. Maybe they should.
They've been pretty good.
Right. Well, right. I guess that's an interesting point. That they did. They actually pushed ahead. Right. I don't know. That's interesting. They actually did more than they should have, even though we're criticizing them by saying they shouldn't have said this and shouldn't have waited around. Right. I guess according to that's a little trash that says they should have done more. You could say they did do too much. Whatever.
Yeah, they did.
They did extra, and it wasn't right. All right.
They like to drink.
And maybe it's one shot. And Hashem said back, Hader Mikol versus me. We'll see who buries who. And of course, Moshe and Aaron had to bury them. So in the beginning, talks about how we get familiar with Talmud Chacham. Beginning is like a golden vessel, and then when the person's named for Talmud Chacham, then Shuvein Lotakana, he's useless. They lose their respect for him. Fine. Keep up with myself. And some people did real streifa. It's interesting because apparently they did have a bezdin. They did surround the person with so again, he says he remembers when he was a kid, which might be a different problem, but whatever. But he says, I remember when I was a kid, there was this bezdin in my town. They surrounded the person with branches, I guess, of wood, and they burned them. So they had some kind of bezdin. So and he said bezdin also show up bucky. To me, it's they obviously were a bezdin. They obviously thought they knew what they were doing. They took someone's life, but they had no clue about this limud that we have. So for us, it's a prefer shemishta. With them, everything was by heart. So I guess they were not sufficiently versed in the ways of killing in the halachas bezdin. Fine. Then Rogim, like we said, we chop his head with a. I didn't show the picture, but whatever. They chop his head with a either with a hatchet or with a sword. Rabbi Yehuda says his reason is, I know that's with doing it with a hatchet, which I wouldn't have thought, but he says doing it with a hatchet is messier, doing it with a sword is neater, but neater. But he says the goyim do it with the sword, right? All the time by the goyim, it was just off with his head with the sword. Rabban say no. The Torah says use a sword, so maybe they're copying us or something, but there's no problem. And the source is like Egla Rufa. Egla Rufa, all Shofchidam Egla Rufa, Maham B'Saif, Minatzava. So they're going to say everything we learn out with sword from the neck, and it's not exactly like a garufa because that's from the back of the neck on the cow. And here, you're talking about the Shabbos, I think.
Yeah,
This clear, right? So but by a person, you kill him from the front of the neck.
Yeah.
That's a Barla Misiyafa again because of Havarech Mocha. Then you chop him from the front of the neck.
My
guess-
only argument with that, even though I understand the reasoning,
Right.
the argument is that you're closing his eyes out for it, because for a person to be watching that happen,
Right.
see from the back, you don't see it happening.
Oh, all right.
So therefore, that may be a yafa also, so that's just my little.
All right. Huh?
Yes, it's right.
I guess I don't know. Maybe it's like shechita. I have no idea. I never seen it. Okay, chenek. We know what basically chenek mission says. You put him in the zevel again until his knees, but this time you really you choke him just by choking.
Same concept, same.
From both sides.
Right. So there's a little discussion, a little debate here. Rabbi Yonasan, Rabbi Yoshia. Do we do chenek because every misa stam is chenek? That's Rabbi Yonasan. Or he says we have to do the most lenient. It's a fine machlokas, kind of fine point in machlokas. So the question is, if you're doing it because it's the most lenient, how do you know such a thing as chenek? Right? Maybe it's only 3 misas. The Gemara says Abba misas Mark Mila, which we've had before. We know that there's 4 misas, and then we're going to have this a lot in the coming blood in one way or another. All in the skull, which we know they get skila, but it doesn't say befresh it gets skila. We learn that from a drasha. We learned that the pasuk skila, the punishment of skila from Ovi Adoni, from the words the mayhem bum. Okay, so let's introduce this plot. Here's where it gets bad. Okay, let me move my thing over. Okay, oh, here's the chenek guy, and there's the eglarufa, and you see he's on the wrong side, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's going to chop it this way from the top. Okay, so source from the skull is not beferish, so we just said that part. That's the mayhem bum, Ovi Adoni, which the Mark keeps quoting. Elohim HaSkull will have a list of the skull. Now, here's a big machokas. If a person is mizana with their mother, how many surim he is chayiv, which we'll see in a second, the chart about. Then there's a side thing, Rabbi Huda the Brisa. If a person's father is not married, that's a separate, really, this little discussion. If the father has a marriage which is chayiv 11, and then Rabbi Huda's source, relations with Imo, then there's another discussion after death. So really, to simplify, and this goes well into Nadal, there's Rabbi until like the middle of Nadal and Manav. There's a space in Machlokes of Huda Chacham if a person is mizana with their mother. Rabbi Huda says only one Isser, and he has a lot of psukim to learn it out. And for each thing, whatever you learn out is Onish, Ashara, and Onish. So you have to have 2 psukim loaded up. So Rabbi Huda says only one Isser, and the Chachamim say there could be more Isser. Okay, so here's an example of what the Mishnah says, Chayiv Skila, Vodazara, Megadeh, person Hashem, which we'll discuss in the Vlad so Namarosa, Moloch, which we don't really discuss, a little bit we discuss, Chil Shabbos, Mesis, Ovi Yidoni, which is the source of Skila, and Menzor Mo. Okay, so this is a simple machokas. This is from the Daf, the advancement form. Now, basically, you see Rabbi Huda's very simple. Mishum aim, Mishum aim. That's the whole Gemara, really. The rest of the Gemara is just basically drushes. The Tanakama, if it's Lachar Misa, then obviously she's the father died, so she's not a married woman, so you don't have Eshes Ish, but you have Aim and Eshes Av, and we learn that from many psukim. And according to if she's still married, she's obviously Eshes Ish. Also, she's a married woman. According to Buddha, there's only Mishum Aim. Okay. Fine. So yeah, here's it's not really, I mean, I think the whole point is this the Gemara gets through is on gets into on the dal, but imcha here, this box over here, habal imo, she gam ishes of chayv mishum imo. It's only imcha here is a limitation, right? Only the mother. The one we use it if his mother is not the wife of his father. Let's say they weren't married. And second, it's only Shan Azhara. That's what we were just talking about before. Let's say there wasn't a marriage, but she's still his mother because she gave birth to him. But again, according to Yehuda, this is the main box over here. And Eres Avicha he, again, according to Yehuda, is Mamait Chiyum Shem Eshes Avet. There's only one of them. According to the Chum, we have many Yisurim, like we said, we have, Imo and Eshes Avet. This right. And this is La'achar Misa, right? There's a separate, again, because I would thought differently. So Eres of Gila in the puzzle over here is La'achar Misa. This is Onesh La'achar Misa. And again, this is in Rabbi Yehuda. This I think is a different source from Rabbi Yehuda, but again, this is Rabbi Yisroel Nafka. I think on the Mabeis. His bottom line is also these are different psukim, but Chayiv Rak Al Imo. That's his bottom line. We fall off that. We fall off that limud. But basically, I think that's the whole through Nundal now. That's the basic machokas. If Yehuda says Chayiv one Al Imo, Rabban Dash all these psukim again for Eishes Av and Imo. You Chayiv two and the Zazhar and the Onesh and
Right,
also La'achar Misa. Huh?
At the end of the day, you're only getting one punishment. The question is then there's also which one is the.
Oh, which one's more chum?
Right.
Right, but which Yisurim are you over? He's over 3 Yisurim, right?
Right.
Right.
So they can't come 3 times.
Right. That's a good question. I would say it's for two
different
different things, right? This is the same action you're doing, right? Right, that's the answer.
We're not saying you did all 3, we're just trying to, what is it that you did?
You did
Right.
one thing, which is we different.
All right, why don't we call what you did?
Right.
We're not saying, we're not.
Right. That's like if you rip the shirt and you go 4 hours on Shabbos, you shoot out 4 hours on Shabbos and it rips the shirt on the waist. That's 2 separate things. Or if you kill a guy, and you rip his shirt. So here I think that's basically the whole point of the Gemara, but we can see it. Now there's a separate thing about Kedusha Tos and B'chai V'lav, which is I think it's a side machlokas. If father marries someone who's only a Chai V'lav, then there's machlokas, Rabbi Kew Gardens, if that Kedusha works or not. So it happens to be Rabbi Yehuda over here would hold that he's not married to her. That's like really a sideshow. If the father marries someone's Chayv Krisos, everyone agrees that marriage doesn't work. So if the father happens to be married to someone's Chayv Lav, and the Rabbi Yehuda would hold, like Rabbi Kiva, that's also not a marriage. So there's no Eishes Avos. So there also, it happens to be for a totally separate reason, he would hold there's only Imo, right? Nothing to do with his whole drushes. Over there, if the marriage isn't the marriage, so it's not Eishes Avos. For a totally separate reason. Forget about all the drushes. Because it's Chayv Lav, the Kedusha didn't work. It's his mother, because his mother is his mother. Fine. And here's it. Yehuda Ein Chayav M'Shem B'Vav Ta'amai Im Chahim M'Shem Imot M'Chayav M'Shem Choshe Zav. Achad Be'Yavika tried a different drasha, and we just really saw this in the pictures before. But he said, "Ervasa M'Shem Ervasa Chayav V'Yat M'Chayav M'Shem Shtei Arayos." That was a different attempt that we threw it off because there's other places such as his daughter-in-law, V'Haba Chalaso. Chayav Chalaso M'Shem Eshes, right?
Probably no one brought up the issue of Yehuda.
Huh?
I mean, I know it's before Matan Torah. I'm saying Yehuda is.
Was that also?
Torah, that's his daughter.
It's not just a crazy idea because we do bring like the later on we bring stuff by
a Rishon.
right, we bring other region, but that's talking about Shemas Bnei Noah.
She was supposed to get straight, but if the guy did it,
Right, she was supposed to get straight.
The guy gets nothing.
Not sure.
Yes,
But she was Arusa, and Okay, we'll talk about that
Right,
Marosa in
I'm
a
saying,
second.
but so again, it just was interesting that it wasn't even mentioned.
Right, that's a
any
good
issue.
question. That's a good point, because she was now Marosa. Now Marosa, she gets Seifa, right? Because there's no, the
Well, that's what
Goyim
she
themselves,
did get.
one guy
Right.
to another guy, there's no such thing as engagement.
Right, okay.
So the question is, if it's a Jewish Namarasa, yes. Question is, if it's Jewish Namarasa with a guy, then what does the guy get?
But it's interesting by you so much. She was
Or was she Jewish?
Also, she was at the state.
Right, but if she wasn't Jewish, then what would you get? I don't know.
I don't know, but she was being burnt at the stake.
Right, she wasn't. So that would be a question. Why'd she get burnt? She's she wasn't Jewish, So really, that the Gemara is clear. From one guy to another guy, the Gemara is later was talking about the Shemus Beninoch. There's no concept of engagement. There's only concept of marriage.
So it wasn't Jewish.
I think I saw it in Chumash that she actually,
That can work.
if the person is a prostitute, whatever like that, they actually.
They actually what?
Defer.
Okay, for that, for being his own. All right,
Meanwhile, the guy who does it, he gets nothing.
gets nothing. Right?
Discuss it later, but
Yeah.
actually has to be Jewish.
Why is she Jewish?
Why? Because
Okay, I don't know.
after the mother.
Right.
That's the big mafloka.
I will get to it later. Okay.
All right, whatever. I don't know.
Whether they were Jewish
Or they kept the Torah or not. Right. All right. Anyway, so Rachel also, this is also sort of left field, not real left field, but he has a different drasha Ervasa. Mishum Ervatas Mechayva, we push it off because it says the word Ervasa other places such as Kalaso, and everyone agrees. Abba Kalaso is Chayiv, his daughter-in-law, he's Chayiv Mishum Esa Shish, and his daughter-in-law. Bull Poga Behuda doesn't argue, so that reason's out the window. The drashas continue. Again, we're talking about the Ervas Avicha, which was on slide 11 on the top. This is talking again, if she is not married to the father, but she's the mother, then what's the Isser? So Abanon use Ervas Avicha, as it says in the chart over here on chart 11, Baal Ovid. If he's has nus with his father, then the Gemara says, what do you mean? But that's Mishkav Zachar. We know that that's also. And the Gemara says Chayiv Shtein. We mechayiv him for two Isur. And that's that basically till the Mishnah. A lot of Joshua and Kavachom is fine. Now the next page is talking about Mishkav Zachar. Let's here we go. Okay. Daf Nun Dal. Here we go. Explanation of machlokas for words Ervas Avicha that we just did. Rabbi Yehuda's Anusasa, which means his mother but not married to the father. Abanan says nus with the father. Mishnah, Mishkav Zachar and Mishkav Behema. The Mishnah says Behema was now this really the Mishnah mentions it and it's discussed on them. Hey, Takala and Kala. There's a concept of this Takala means this is a thing that causes a person to do the Avera. Kala means it's going to be embarrassing, which for a Jewish person it is embarrassing. And then the Psukim of Shochim and Nishkav, there's also the receiver of Nishkav Zachar is also, and the minimum age either 9 or 3 Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Fine, so that's basically the spot. Pick up speed a little. Fine. Baal Zachar Behema, like we say, everything's Beskila. So we're sort of continuing the list of Niskalim. That's the theme here. And Zaf Minalan, and the Gemara says Mishkevei Isha. So Mishkevei Isha, that's a source for it says if a person's with a Zachar, Asher Yishka is puzzle. Asher Yishka is Zachar, Mishkevei Isha. So it says Mishkevei is 2, and there's only one derech by a man. So one is to include Ein Kadaka by a woman, which the person's chayav for. And again, once again, like I said, the Mehem Bab is telling you skila. That's a code word for skila. Now, there's a few different possibilities. So we had Zachar. Now we're going to have Behema. Behema Mindal, the punishment for Mishka Behema. And then the Nishkav, that's what I mentioned on the introduction, that Nishkav, the receiver, also has a punishment from these psukim. There's actually Machlokes of Rishon Rabbi Akiva, Lo Yeh Kodesh B'nei Yisrael, which means a person shouldn't have znus. Or Rabbi Akiva says, Lo Shitien Shechav Techa, so Shechiv Vascha. There's a urine lying, so it means even the person's receiving it, they're still on the receiving end. There's an nafkamina between them. If a person does both, the Gemara spends some time discussing any combination. If a person does both, behelam achas, and one forgetting, is he chayiv? According to Bekiva, there's one pasuk, shchivascha, and so if he's the nishkav, and at the same, doesn't have to be the same time, but in the same time, helam achas, where he doesn't know the halacha, then he was also the shochiv and the nishkav. Then according to Bekiva, he's only chayiv one, and according to Mishmah, there's a separate pasuk called Lo Yeh Kodesh B'nei Yisrael. That's nafkamina of that. And here is like the last one said, Machokas Ram Shmuel, the minimum age, of course, not the mutter, but the minimum age according to Rav is 9, and Shmuel, the minimum age to be chayiv is 3 for the nishkav, for the person who is being done to.
They both get the same punishment?
Huh?
They both get the same visa?
Well, the kid is the kid.
No, the
Oh,
The nishkav is the kid.
the nishkav, the chora, I think so. These are the Josh's including nishkav and shochiv. Once they're included, I assume they're the same visa. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Nun hey. Let's go to the introduction for Nun hey. We did that. Okay, what was that chart? Oh, here's the chart about how the minimum age. If they're less than Tess, then that's Machokas Ram Shmuel Chayv Potter. Because Rav says it has to be 9. I know there's 8 here, whatever. It's a footnote. And the Behema Katana doesn't matter how young the Behema is, the Behema, right? Okay. Behema Shlokadarka. Right, before we're talking about people shlokadarka, now behema shlokadarka, and then the different situations of hara, which means a incomplete bia. So there's mazachar, behema, and a person with themselves. Takala without kala. So we said before that the reason we kill the behema, what did the behema do wrong? So there's a reason of takala, which means this is the thing that caused the people to sin, and kala means it's embarrassing. So Nachri the Behema is a takala. This is what it was Lavera, but Kol, what's embarrassing about it, right? Especially these days. And Kol takala, a Jew is b'shogeg, so there was no takala done because there was no Avera. And even is the takala regarding Katanim, there shouldn't be a comment there. But they were spared from execution, which is on Beis, which is an interesting concept that kids, in some way, are chayiv, but Hashem makes them patur. It's like a superimposed patur. But really, kids are chayiv for at least this, or seems to be whatever they do. They inherently chayiv, but there's a patur. All right. Yeah. So that's that. Where are we? Fine. So here. We have the different kinds of and the question is by Isha and the Behema. Also, there's machlokes with a Behema shlokadarka, and if the woman brings a Behema on her shlokadarka. So there's machlokes. Those are the 2 cases. One's chayav, one's pater. Either the Behema shlokadarka or the Isha shlokadarka. This is for either way. Fine. The Gemara goes into Isha Orcheu, whatever. Fine. Now, Mara B'Zachar, the 3 cases we have, we don't know if there's Hara, the partial beer by a Zachar, and the Behema, and Ba'atzmo, which is only Chayiv if you hold Mashamish Be'ever Mace, is Chayiv. Otherwise, but if he is Chayiv, when he does it himself, he's Chayiv for both the Shochiv and Nishkav. Fine. So here's the sugya of Takol. Kolon. Rav Sheshes said that you do kill the behemoth even though there's only takala by a guy. There's no column, like we said, the guy is not embarrassed. We look after the trees that the guy served. We knock down the trees, even though there's no column, the trees are not embarrassed. And the guy is not embarrassed. In Balachaim, we don't kill if you bow down to your behemoth, it's a different story because we're going to let the behemoth live. Fine. We try to bring a raya from the Mishnah. Oh, I left it out here. Oh, no, we didn't see it. I'll go back to the Mishnah for a second. The raya from the Mishnah is interesting because we're using Lashon the Mishnah, but it's inconclusive here. Okay, Takol is going to be amazing, like we said, and Takol is so shogi. Fine. This is our Mishnah. It says, so that says the word Takol. The Sefer Davar Acher Shlote B'hem Overes B'Shuk, that the animal shouldn't go in the marketplace. It says Zui should niska ploni al yada. So this language of niska ploni is mashma, I guess, embarrassment. Al yada is mashma takala. So we try to bring a right what maybe it's the word takala doesn't mean takala because it says both in the Sefer, but the Gemara ends up saying we can't prove anything from the Sefer. That the Gemara, what the kids are doing is an Avera, and the Gemara tries to bring a raya, but the kids is no takol, right? There's embarrassment, obviously. There's no takol. We said no, by the kids there also is takol. There is an Avera underlying, but Rachmanu D'Chasulei, but the behemoth obviously we kill. Right. Fine. Now Megadif. So we go to Megadif. Megadif is a person who curses Hashem, and he has to say, B'Shem, he says, Yake Yossi is Yossi, right? Yossi is Hashem Hashem. Okay. It has to be Shem B'Shem, and the witnesses at one time have to say exactly what they heard one time, and then they tear Kriya because it's such a horrible thing, which means, I'm not sure. I guess you're right. He has to be warned. What the question is how you warn him without saying Shem Hashem. I don't know.
Or they're saying just don't do that. I think
Right. That's a good question. I don't know how you have a straw for such a thing. I don't know. Goyim are also
right, because Adam have to say specifically what he should be doing.
right. So maybe I'm not sure. Right. So idolater is also one of Goyim Berachas Hashem. Now, there's in one sense, Goyim could be worse if they curse Hashem with kinuim. Kinuim means not the Shem Hashem itself. It means Elokim Shakai. That's a kinui. That's a reference to Shem Hashem. Yeah, we don't. When we say kinu, we say like Elokim, but it's real Shemus, which we consider Shemus, but not the Shem Hashem. And then we have Shemus of Bnei Noach, all kinds of lists of Shemus of Bnei Noach. This is just a chart of if a guy curses with a kinui, so there is a shita that he's chayav, right? Even according to Rabbanan, fine. Now, the Shemus Bnei Noach, there's a lot of order, fine. The Gemara is very detailed drushes, like this week is a week of drushes. These are Shemus Bnei Noach, and according to one shita, which we had a video, but I don't have it, and I crossed Hashem's name, so it shouldn't be Shemus. We learn Shemus Bnei Noach from somewhere in Psukim Bereshis, and this shita holds you learn all the Shemus Bnei Noach, as you can see along the bottom, from everywhere in this pasuk. Where I grabbed this slide from was Achal Tochel, which is Avram and Hachai. Here is the list, the classic list of Shemus Bnei Noach. The Alfes Gemodal and the three big ones. Tanvei Menashe. There are other opinions. Tanvei Menashe takes out the last two, Sirus and Kalayim, and this is different sources. These are all Psukim and Bereshis where Hashem's telling us about the mitzvahs. And here is just spelled out what other people would do with the psukim. This is the same real psukim was over here in Tanvei Menashe. This is all his psukim, which the Gemara goes through. Like I said, it's a bunch of drushes, and the Brisa uses the drushes for something else. Fine. And we're almost at yesterday's daf. Fine. So the Megadif, like we said, he curses Hashem. He has to say the Shem Hashem when it comes to Bezdin. The whole time they don't say exactly what he said, but at the end, the last point, if there's no other choice, we see the guys Michayev, then he says the Shem Hashem. Everyone goes out, and except for the Dayanim, right? We said before, there's a whole bunch of people in the court. Everyone leaves, and Dayanim rip their clothes after they hear the Shem Hashem. And he has to say the Shem Hashem. He has to say Yakas Yossi as Yossi. Hashem, he's saying should curse Hashem. The word no cave is a curse because Ma'akol Lakabel, which is Bilam said. The Gemara has a couple of possibilities what it could be. Maybe you have it on the paper and you rip the paper with the Shem Hashem, right? They said no, and that wouldn't be ripping. That wouldn't be no cave Shem Hashem b'Shem. That would just be ripping one after the other. Maybe you say on the knife. Maybe on the knife you write Shem Hashem and use that to rip another one. But no, fine. Here we have the sugya of the goyim. The goyim get sayef, and it says every miso that the goyim get is sayef. They're having a sword. And this is the machoks of Yichus Nafka and Rav Meisha, which we won't go through. Like we said, if Meisha holds that the Ben Noach is even chayv according to Rabban. Fine. For a kinoi. Here's a list of Shavas Ben Noach, like we know. And various Ram add random things. Eating dam, cirrus, castrating someone. Kishuv is a big one. Some people say it's included, which obviously will make it 8. It doesn't say what they take out, so I guess they're just adding them on. They would have Shmona.
Reality, so it's sure mitzvahs not actually specific ones, those are groupings. So
Yeah. It doesn't have to say, right. It doesn't say the Shev mitzvahs per se.
right.
Kilayim, right. Yes, we could throw it, right. We could throw them in. Kilayim is what kind of Kilayim are boss? Behemoth, if they mixed breed the behemoths, which we had a nice picture of, big and small behemoth. Fine. Now we said the dinim, right? One of the things is dinim. So what kind of dinim are they supposed to have? What kind of court system? So they should have Eda, Edom, and Asra. 1 second. So these are Eda, Edom, and Asra. 1 second. Where are we? The Eda, Edom, and Asra are things that they have, that we have. This is what they have to have, right? Is that?
That's what we have.
Huh?
They come from what we.
Right.
Right.
No, the question is, do they also have to have Edom, and Asra? Oh, no. So we have extra than them. We have to have Edom, and Asra, and Dinei Krosos. Also, we have to have Bezdin in every city. And like we saw, here's Dvei Menashe. We saw in the chart, he adds Sirius and Klein, and he takes that. He takes out the other two. And Rabbi Yehuda says other Rishon only had Avodah Zarah, and also Berkas Hashem. He had that. Fine. Moving right along. Next to the last page. Okay, here we go. Dav Zayin, the Ben Noach is killed for stealing Pax Mishav Pruta. Tell them, the Ben Noach is executed with a single judge and witness, even executed for killing a fetus. And Ben Noach has relations with Jewish Namarasa, like we were just discussing that before, is killed with skila. Why? Because there's no parallel by the Goyish courts. There's no such thing as a Goyish woman who's engaged. Now, which Averis of Ben Noach get killed? So there's machlokes, either 3, the big Avodah Zarah rise and cursing Hashem, or he had the Chavim, so before, and then everyone else of Yehuda, they say they're Talmidei Derav. Those are Beirav. These are Talmidei Derav, whatever. They say they get killed for Hashem and Mrs. Noach. Of all of them, the classic Hashem is Noach. There's a brisa which the Gemara also spends some time darshaning, which we won't go into now. It says Al Gezel, and things like them. What is things like Gezel, Ganav, and Yifas Torah, right? So the Gemara goes into that. What does the Gemara mean? But it comes out Kovish Schar Sachir. Let's say they don't pay someone, or a person. So Miyachish Shifra Avdo Olev. They say this shifra should be for this person, and then they steal her away. That's gezel. Shvichas dam, we don't learn that. How do you kill a guy? What's the procedure? So you can have one judge, like we have in America, I guess, one age, shlo basra, but we don't trust the woman's testimony. And Afal Obrin, he makes a point that even chayiv for killing fetuses for abortion. And what's the reason for that? So it says shofech dam ha dam ba'adam. What is a person in a person? Sounds like a fetus. Or Tanakh it says that means chenek, because you're killing them like inside themselves. You're choking the air out of them. So that's ba'adam ba'adam. Huh?
Break down a little later, the Gemara talks about Judah, not considered
If you did what?
an abortion. Right? It says
We
it's
talked
not
about that. I don't
considered.
remember. Yeah.
Why does no?
Well, that's only with his
At
Josh.
least,
I'm saying that's his Shmuel's Josh. Don't hold it.
right, but I'm
So
saying
I would say.
there's somewhere along the line, someone makes a difference between the Noah, when he does an abortion, he gets
Okay,
killed,
I'm not sure.
and when Jude does, it's not because he learned that the fetus is not. in that
Okay, I don't know.
state, not.
I mean, again, like I say, even by B'nai Noach, it's only Kvanta B'Shmuel. I missed that with their Rabbanan. Okay, we'll have to see. Fine. A woman, we said before that she cannot testify, but she could. There's more psukim over here. Even in the secular courts, a woman could be judged. The was a have me the ema bas nachsha harga lo tehar. Maybe she shouldn't be chayav when she kills. Ema bas nachsha zins lo tehar. Maybe if she's mezana, she shouldn't be killed. No, the puzzle says she's just judged like a man, but even the Gaisha court, she can't testify. Fine. The Gemara says, "Ba'al arayis Yisrael nidam b'dinei Yisrael." Right? That's a quote. So what does that mean? So usually a guy would always get the Gaisha punishment, which we said before is sayif, except in Amaras, because Goyim only punishment from the Suan, so he gets skila. Right. Fine. Now we had a statement just coming to today's daf. Here in today's daf, we're feeding off this Bryce over here. It says Rabbi Meir has a shita, which comes out, and we'll see the chart because I think the chart's the best way at this time and place. Oh, whoops. Okay. Yeah, this is talking about eating in the vineyard, which is a side discussion of maybe a keosibo. And if this is the guy chasing after you, if you're allowed to kill him. Now, there's a contradiction from Reb Meir, which you'll see on the chart, and from the case of Ger, my sister and my mother-in-law. The machlokas of Kew and Elazar had the learned apostle Kiyaz of Ishus of Vesimo. That I put in. One who raises his hand to strike someone's called a Russia. That's all the way at the end of one base, and Ocham Shabbos Chayiv Misa is really at the end of one base. Okay, so here's just here's a Chosam Me'em, the sister from the mother, which is what we're discussing, and Adam Sar Chosam Me'av is his sister just on his father's side. The Gemara brings a raya if his harasso, if she got pregnant with the sister before the gerus, and then he became a ger. The mother and the sister became a ger, then he was born from his mother when she was Jewish already, and then he did the Isser of marrying a Choso.
Why do we have to become a ger?
Right.
Why does he have to become?
Well,
No, that's the there
Well,
happens to be the Bryce we're bringing is talking about that case. It's an ad chiddush, because I would think once he's a ger, all his relations are wiped out, which is true except for Xera. The Xera is Atu when he's a guy. So really, no, we're just using this Bryce. The Bryce is almost a special case. We're using that to as the Xeris and the Bryce to show what the halacha would be when he was if he was a guy. Really, the truth is when he becomes a ger, Katan Shnodam,
My question is, why?
right? And they're Katan Shnodam, so he's not related to anybody.
right, if the
The mother
mother,
of the Skyr, she was pregnant,
Right.
isn't he a yid?
yeah,
One second. If he is a yid, but the question is, he's not related to his sister.
Granted, but why is he called the ger?
Oh,
Unless
well, he's a
He's not
Garrett
related
called
because his mother was in the skyra after
after she became
after
pregnant,
his
right?
sister. But
Right,
okay, whatever. Technical.
right.
Like, he shouldn't be dressed up so from. That's what I'm saying.
Why? Because he's not really a Garrett. It's
He's
also
not
right.
ger, he's a-
But Ba'atzim, the whole point of this case is that really he's not related to anybody. Really, he should totally be mutter. Where we see his usher shows us that really he's usher to those people. So here is the big machokas. This is Ramiro asking a question on Achos Na'im. We said that the guy is potter and Chamoso he's nera. Huh? Right. So we said in the Gemara that Achoso he has to divorce, but he's mutter the Eishes Achiv. Right? What is Eishes Achiv? I don't know why he wrote Eishes Achiv. It's a mistake. It should be Eishes Achiv. Right. So basically, we saw from the Bryce of the Ger the opposite of this, that this cotton Ger has to get divorced from Achoso, right? Which would mean that he's usher, like this Remeir, and also Chamosha Ishes Achiv, I believe. Then we say he's allowed to stay married, so that would imply there's no Gzeira to be made. So basically, we say the answer is it's different shita in Remeir. Right, and that's that basically. Feeling more a second. What's on the base a second? Huh? Yeah, I guess that's the end. 1 second. Huh? Right. 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 We tried to bring different rights from Amram. Yocheved Odaso. We tried to bring a raya from Avram and Sarah. That's what we were saying. Do we have the chart here? Yeah, right. That's the last chart, right. Right, it's mashma that if she was a choso me'im, she'd be also, right? She says, "Vagam." The pasuk says, "Vagam al chosi bas avihi, lo bas imi," right? So that would be mashma if it was bas imo, then he'd be usher. And the answer is that really she wasn't like you see in the chart, she wasn't his sister. She was a nephew. She was a niece, which is fine. So he was just telling him the family tree, and I think for now we'll hold it here. All right,